Good morning. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. For Monday, May 12th, 2025, here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky welcoming Russia's offer for direct peace talks. I'm Julie Walker.
Pope Leo the Fourteenth's first Mass in front of a crowd of hundreds of thousands. I'm Clayton Neville.
The final stage of jury selection for the racketeering and sex trafficking trial of hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs. I'm Haya Panchwani.
David Steiner is slated to take over control of the U.S. Postal Service. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
They're trying to get back to normal in the disputed territory of Kashmir. I'm Donna Warder.
The Women's World Cup will increase to 48 teams in 2031. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
The Food and Drug Administration has approved the first cervical cancer testing kit. Ed Donahue, Washington.
All ahead on America in the Morning. Update on that trade deal with China. First, correspondent Julie Walker reports there appears to be progress towards peace between Ukraine and Russia.
Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky welcoming Russia's offer for direct peace talks, but insisting there must be a full temporary ceasefire in place before negotiations start. President Trump and other world leaders are backing a 30-day unconditional ceasefire starting Monday, with consequences for Russia if it doesn't conform. Russian President Vladimir Putin effectively rejecting that with his counteroffer. Presidential spokesman Dmitry Peskov on ABC this week.
We thought that President Trump was going to use his enormous influence over Ukraine to get Ukraine closer to the idea of negotiations. Ukraine is trying to escape from negotiations.
Also on ABC this week, Ukraine Ambassador Oksana Makarova.
Yes, Ukraine is ready to negotiate.
I'm Julie Walker.
The lead U.S. negotiator in trade talks with China cheered, quote, a great deal of productivity, end quote, in resolving differences between the world's two leading economic powers after officials wrapped up 2 days of bargaining in Switzerland. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said Sunday there was substantial progress in the weekend sessions. The Chinese delegation also held a news conference where it described what occurred as candid, in-depth, and constructive dialogue. The Chinese vice premier said both sides had agreed to establishing a continuation mechanism for further discussions on trade and economic issues. Both China's negotiators and Secretary Bessent said that there will be a joint statement with more details on the talks released later today. Pope Leo the 14th celebrates over his first Mass as Pope. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
Pope Leo the 14th held Mass in front of about 100,000 people in St. Peter's Square on Sunday.
Cari fratelli e sorelle, buona domenica.
The Pope pushed for peace and said never again war. He called to an end of the wars in the Middle East and Ukraine and asked for prayers for the priesthood. Back home, in the hometown of the newly elected first American-born Pope, Chicago Archbishop Cardinal Blaise Sopich joined ABC's This Week to support the election of Pope Leo.
He's multilingual. He's lived in 3 different continents. He's administratively capable.
Over the weekend before Sunday's Mass, the Vatican says that Pope Leo stopped by the Basilica of St. Mary Major and prayed before the tomb of Pope Francis, his predecessor. I'm Clayton Neville.
The top stories of the day are sponsored by Sleep Number. Sleep better with Sleep Number. Now, during the Memorial Day sale, all smart beds and bases are on sale, plus free home delivery, exclusively at a Sleep Number store. Coming up, American hostage freed. Those stories and more when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. This is America in the Morning. Where can we expect showers today? In to answer that, AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rendy this Monday.
A storm centered over eastern Arkansas and western Mississippi will have widespread impacts across the Tennessee Valley and southeast today and tonight. Showers and thunderstorms will cover a vast portion of the region, with some bands of rain that develop will continue to produce localized flooding concerns. There'll be showers and thunderstorms from easternmost Texas into Oklahoma and continuing to Mississippi and Alabama and expanding northward through central Missouri and Illinois, much of Indiana and Ohio, as well as parts of Florida into Virginia and southern Maryland. The heaviest of this rainfall will be across northern Florida through North and South Carolina, where several inches of rain will be possible through tonight into Tuesday morning. A few of the storms could also produce gusty winds, hail, and even an isolated tornado. The best chance for this will be in central Florida. Meanwhile, we have another storm moving through the northwest with some showers and thunderstorms from Washington into Oregon and northern California and extending into Idaho, western Montana, and western Nevada this afternoon. Ahead of this storm, there will be plenty of sunshine from southern California through the southwest and continuing through the Great Basin and a good portion of the plains. It will be also warm in most places, but especially in the northern plains from eastern Montana into the Dakotas and western Minnesota, where highs will easily get into the 90s and a few places will surpass 100. This will be 10 to 20 degrees above the historical average, and a few records are likely to fall. That's the weather across America. Hartford, Connecticut will have a very nice day with abundant sunshine and a high of 72. It'll be a cooler day in Portland, Oregon with plenty of clouds and a shower or thunderstorm around and a high of 62. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen on your preferred platform by searching America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. Hamas says that the last living American hostage in Gaza, Edan Alexander, will be released as part of efforts to establish a ceasefire, reopen crossings into the Israeli-blockaded territory, and resume the delivery of U.S. aid. President Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, confirmed late last night that Hamas had agreed to release Alexander as a goodwill gesture toward Trump. The announcement of the first hostage release since the end of the ceasefire in March comes shortly before Trump visits the Middle East this week. Trump said on his social media platform, Truth Social, last night that Alexander is an Israeli-American soldier who grew up in New Jersey. He was abducted from his base during the October 7th, 2023 Hamas-led attack that ignited the war in Gaza. Two Hamas officials told the AP they expect the release in the next 48 hours. America in the Morning continues. The trial of Sean Diddy Combs is expected to start today, but correspondent Haya Panjwani reports the court still needs to finalize the jury.
The final stage of jury selection for the racketeering and sex trafficking trial of hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs will start up again on Monday. A judge said that a pool of 45 prospective jurors will be narrowed down to 12 jurors and 6 alternates. That's about an hour before opening statements. Would-be jurors were asked questions to help the judge and lawyers determine if they could be fair and impartial. They were also questioned to make sure that they could decide the case on the facts, even after seeing explicit videos of sexual activity. Combs has pleaded not guilty. I'm Haya Panjwani.
Correspondent Lisa Dwyer reports President Trump has made his pick to head the U.S. Postal Service.
David Steiner is slated to take over control of the U.S. Postal Service as the nation's 76th Postmaster General, pending his successful completion of an ethics and security clearance process. Steiner was CEO of Waste Management and serves on the FedEx Board of Directors. The Trump administration has floated the idea of privatizing the nearly 250-year-old Postal Service amid chronic financial challenges. Postal unions have protested any potential privatization. They also expressed concern over Steiner's potential conflict of interest. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
When we return on America in the Morning, Bitcoin rises and more trade talk with China. Business news is next. We're back after these messages. Thanks for listening. You're with America in the Morning. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments takes a disciplined approach with investing, helping clients navigate volatile markets. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. And on how we are expected to find markets at the open, here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opens this morning after a losing week for stocks last week. Some investors were pretty jittery heading into the weekend talks on trade and more in Switzerland between the U.S. and China. Year to date, let's take a look. Investors are in the red. The Dow and the S&P 500 index, each down 3%. The Nasdaq is down 7%. Many investors say no one expected a trade deal yet with China or even a framework for one, although the White House announced a U.S.-China trade deal, but it offered few details. Investors are waiting. But over the weekend, guess what started to arrive?
At West Coast ports, the first cargo ships with goods subject to the 145% tariffs are arriving on our shores, destined for Amazon, Home Depot, Tractor Supply, and other big retailers.
And those big names also include IKEA, Ralph Lauren, Procter & Gamble, LG, Samsung, all with orders for goods at higher tariff rates. Consumers will now have to try to figure out who's passing those costs on by raising prices and who's holding off for now. Many Americans are worried about the economy because of the tariffs, but there's been a little bit of good news in some of the corporate earnings calls so far this earnings season.
So you had over 90% of companies talk about tariffs this quarter, but only 2% of companies discuss layoffs. And I think that's a really good sign for the economy.
That's Goldman Sachs' Ben Snyder on CNBC. Bitcoin raced higher last Friday, crossing back over $103,000, up 25% just this month. And it soared up a whopping 35% from its April lows.
You have these publicly listed entities that are consistent buyers of Bitcoin. One of the most profitable companies in the world, Tether, continues to use profits to buy Bitcoin. You have states, so New Hampshire, Arizona, potentially Oregon, who are now adopting digital asset holding frameworks. The UAE, alongside many other nations, are buying Bitcoin as a reserve asset.
Neoclassics' Michael Busella on CNBC. If you went shopping over the weekend or spent a little money on mom for Mother's Day, you're not alone. The U.S. consumer seems to be holding up. This is according to the Bank of America Consumer Checkpoint for April.
Consumer momentum is continuing. It is continuing at a more moderate pace. For most households, their financial condition remains solid.
Bank of America Institute's Liz Everett-Chrisberg on CNBC. They analyze data from about 60 million B of A credit card holders. But Americans are pulling back on travel. Expedia shares were down last Friday 7% on weak quarterly results, and the travel booking platform also issued a soft outlook. On today's watch list, investors are gaming out the latest on the Trump tariff war. We get earnings from Fox, Hertz, and Topgolf Callaway.
Monday Business with CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. India and Pakistan are accusing each other of violating a ceasefire deal. Correspondent Donna Warder is following details.
They're trying to get back to normal in the disputed territory of Kashmir after a ceasefire between India and Pakistan took effect Saturday. But residents and officials in the region say there was overnight fighting between Indian and Pakistani troops. People on both sides of the line of control, which divides the territory, say fighting did subside by Sunday morning. This resident of Uri, under Indian control, says, "We want peace, not war. People are against the war because people of the border area are most affected by this." The escalation of violence began last week following a gun massacre of tourists in Indian-controlled Kashmir. India blamed the attack on Pakistan. Pakistan denies involvement. I'm Donna Warder.
In-home cancer detection kit gets the green light from the feds. That and more when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. The FIFA Women's World Cup is hoping to expand the number of teams that compete. Correspondent Gethin Coolbaugh is following details.
The Women's World Cup will increase to 48 teams in 2031 when the United States is expected to host the tournament, FIFA confirmed. FIFA has wanted to expand the women's tournament from 32 teams to match the Men's World Cup, which has 48 teams for the first time next year, when the U.S. will co-host with Canada and Mexico. The decision follows 1 month after FIFA said it had just one candidate bidding for each of the 2031 and 2035 women's tournaments, the U.S. followed by the United Kingdom. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
A new at-home medical test kit, as we learn from correspondent Ed Donahue, has met with the approval of the Food and Drug Administration.
The Food and Drug Administration has approved the first cervical cancer testing kit. Teal Health has gotten the go-ahead for its Teal Wand for use at home. It allows women to collect their own vaginal sample before shipping it to a lab. It can detect the HPV virus that causes cervical cancer. HPV tests and pap smears are usually performed at a health clinic or a doctor's office. The FDA has also recently expanded the use of 2 older HPV tests for self-collection, but they must be done at a medical office or clinic. Teal Health's kit requires a prescription. The company will start selling them next month in California before expanding to other states. It is also working with insurers on health coverage for the test. Ed Donahue, Washington.
America in the Morning for Monday, May 12th, 2025 is produced by Alexander Hinton. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
A surprise from the U.S.-China trade talks.
And I'm happy to report that we made substantial progress.
I'm Rich Johnson.
Perhaps the end may be in sight for the war in Ukraine. I'm Bob Brown.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy plans to reduce the number of flights at Newark Airport. I'm Julie Walker.
The Food and Drug Administration says it will allow 3 new color additives made from natural sources. Ed Donahue, Washington.
Superheroes and vampires continue to rule at the box office. I'm Kevin Carr.
We're back after these messages. This is America in the Morning. There are a couple pockets of areas of the nation expecting showers today. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
We have a storm moving into the northwest with a few showers and thunderstorms from Washington into Oregon and northern California and extending into Idaho, western Montana, and western Nevada this afternoon. And ahead of the storm, there is going to be plenty of sunshine from southern California into the southwest, continuing through the Great Basin, the Rockies, and a good portion of the plains. It's also going to be quite warm in most of these places, but especially in the northern plains from eastern Montana into the Dakotas and western Minnesota, where highs will easily reach into the 90s and a few places will even surpass 100. This is 20 to 30 degrees above the historical average, and a few records are likely to fall. It's also going to be quite windy and dry, which will also present a higher risk for fire spread. A storm that brought widespread showers and thunderstorms to the southwest into the southern plains last week continues to be centered over eastern Arkansas and western Mississippi this morning and will continue to have widespread impacts through the southeast, northward to the Ohio Valley and the middle Atlantic today and tonight. Showers and thunderstorms will cover a vast portion of the region, with some of the bands of rain that develop causing some localized flooding concerns. There'll be showers and thunderstorms from easternmost Texas into Oklahoma and continuing to Mississippi and Alabama and expanding northward through central Missouri into Illinois and much of Indiana and Ohio, and then eastward from Florida to Virginia and southern Maryland. The heaviest of this rainfall will be across northern Florida and north and South Carolina, where several inches of rain are possible tonight into the Tuesday morning. And then a few thunderstorms will also provide gusty winds, hail, and an isolated tornado. Then the best chance for this will be in central Florida. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Follow us on your favorite podcast platform. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite app. I'm John Trout. Asian stocks and U.S. futures are up on news of successful trade talks between the U.S. and China over the weekend in Switzerland. Correspondent Rich Johnson says the Americans in the room were very happy.
After what most experts predicted would be just get-acquainted meetings over 2 days in Geneva, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told reporters,
And I'm happy to report that we made substantial progress between the United States and China in a very important trade talk.
But he's saving details for a briefing later today. Bessent stood alongside U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer, who played up the speed of the talks.
It's important to understand how quickly we were able to come to agreement, which reflects that perhaps the differences were not so large as maybe thought.
Those differences being the tariff war between Washington and Beijing that, as of this morning, has the U.S. imposing a combined 145% tariff on goods coming from China. and China hitting back with a 125% levy on American goods. So will the numbers come down? Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick would only tell CNN.
At the end of the day, they felt good. The president felt good.
The former chair of the Council of Economic Advisors, Jared Bernstein, told MSNBC that Lutnick sounds like this whole tariff problem came from outer space.
It wasn't, in fact, his administration and his boss, President Trump, who set these tariffs at a completely impossible level, 145%.
As for China, the vice commerce minister says the deal will contain good news for the world. And the vice premier said the meeting made substantial progress and reached important consensus. I'm Richard Johnson.
Tensions continue to grow between Democratic lawmakers and the Trump administration over deportations. With the latest, here's correspondent Clayton Neville.
The mayor of Newark, New Jersey, Ras Baraka, was detained during a demonstration outside an ICE detention facility late last week. The mayor and other lawmakers were given a tour of the facility, and things got tense when the mayor was asked to leave the premises. After he was eventually released, he had a few words.
And I see on social media they trying to make me out to be a villain. I can't speak about the case, so I won't go into that. I promised the lawyers and the judge that I'll keep my mouth shut when I came out here. But the reality is this. I didn't do anything wrong.
Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman was there when the mayor was detained and spoke with CNN's State of the Union.
Chaos ensued when someone on the phone above the leaders of ICE who were with us at the facility instructed them to go out of the facility, go to the private property, and lock the mayor of the largest city in the state of New Jersey up. That's absurd. That's un-American. That's scary. That's determination to intimidate people in this country.
This as the Trump administration continues to deport illegal immigrants, targeting dangerous criminals. Deputy State Department spokesperson Mignon Houston told me that the administration continues to push the idea of self-deportation.
The assisted voluntary return program is just that. It's a voluntary return program. It is not a deportation process or formal removal. It is really the safest and most cost-effective way for illegal aliens to leave the United States. And it does so by allowing them to self-deport in an assisted way.
While Republicans tout legal forms of migration, Democrats argue that the Trump administration is weaponizing law enforcement. I'm Clayton Neville.
Putting an end to the war, Russia and Ukraine appear ready to hold talks. Correspondent Bob Brown is following details.
I will have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine totally settled. I'll have it done in 24 hours.
That was President Trump at a town hall in 2023. Obviously, things haven't gone as planned. But finally, Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky have now agreed to meet on Thursday in Turkey to begin talks and seeking a permanent end to the bloodshed between both countries, which have claimed the lives of tens of thousands of soldiers and civilians. Zelensky says there's no point in prolonging the killings, Putin saying our proposal is on the table. Bobby Ghosh, a geopolitical analyst appearing on CNN.
Trump wants quick action, and Russia is showing that it is on the side of peace. And I think Zelensky's response is also designed to appease Trump, to say, look, I'm not the one standing in the way of peace. The Europeans, I think, are taking a more realistic view. We've heard from President Macron of France saying this is Russia just buying time. I think that's the more accurate description of it.
President Trump reportedly urging Ukraine to take the meeting with Russia. I'm Bob Brown.
There are less people visiting the U.S., and the FDA makes a new ruling on food dyes. At 17 till, we'll have those stories and more when America in the Morning continues after these messages. I'm John Trout. You're with America in the Morning. Another round of talks has been held to try and negotiate an end to Iran's nuclear program. Correspondent Donna Warder reports.
The U.S. and Iran wrapped up a fourth round of negotiations Sunday on Tehran's rapidly advancing nuclear program. A U.S. official says the talks ran for about 3 hours in the capital of Oman. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi tells Islamic Republic of Iran News Network negotiations will continue. There is a better understanding now. I can say that the positions have gotten somewhat closer, and overall, I believe the talks can be assessed as moving forward. The U.S. wants to limit Iran's nuclear program, and Tehran wants the lifting of some of the crushing economic sanctions imposed by the U.S. I'm Donna Warder.
There will be a reduction in the number of flights at the Newark airport in the coming weeks. Correspondent Julie Walker says the reduction comes amid mounting concerns about traveler safety.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy plans to reduce the number of flights at Newark Airport for the next several weeks as New Jersey's largest airport struggles with radar outages and a shortage of air traffic controllers.
In the morning and early afternoon, we're going to have more capacity. As those international flights come in the afternoon, we slow it down a little bit more.
He also tells NBC's Meet the Press this is not an isolated issue.
I'm concerned about the whole airspace, right? The equipment that we use, much of it we can't buy parts for new. We have to go on eBay and buy parts.
This situation so bad. Friday, this air traffic controller heard on liveatc.net.
FedEx 1989, I hand you off here. Our scopes just went black again. If you care about this, contact your airline and try to get some pressure for them to fix this stuff.
Duffy says they're updating infrastructure and working on getting more air traffic controllers. I'm Julie Walker.
The Menendez brothers' resentencing hearing is set to take place later this week, but correspondent Haya Panjwani says there is uncertainty around the hearing's outcome.
Los Angeles County District Attorney Nathan Hochman tried to again ask the court to withdraw the resentencing petition and said new evidence supports that. But the judge disagreed and set May 13th and May 14th for the resentencing hearings. Brian Friedman represents the family and says they want fairness.
I see the key aspect of next week being, the Menendez brothers having a chance and having a real significant chance. And we think we have a very fair judge. And I'm sure Mark will do a great job at that hearing next week. And all the family wants is fairness. All they want is their chance.
The Menendez brothers are convicted of killing their parents in 1989. An attorney for the brothers has said the DA is biased against the brothers, who were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. I'm Haya Panjwani.
President Trump says in a post on Truth Social that he will sign an executive order today that, if implemented, could bring down the costs of some medications. The order Trump is promising will direct the Department of Health and Human Services to tie what Medicare pays for medications administered in a doctor's office to the lowest price paid by other countries. Trump attempted a similar rule during his first presidency that was met with fierce opposition from the pharmaceutical industry. In a lawsuit in 2020, they argued that policy would give foreign governments the upper hand in deciding the value of medications in the U.S. In a separate Truth Social post, the president took aim at pharmaceutical companies, saying they've been taking advantage of Americans for years and that he would do the right thing. America in the Morning continues. Correspondent Lisa Dwyer reports there's been a decrease in the number of people traveling to the United States.
Expedia Group says reduced travel demand in the United States has led to its weaker than expected revenue in the first quarter, with bookings to the U.S. from Canada down nearly 30%. Airbnb and Hilton noted the same trends last week. Most major U.S. airlines say they plan to reduce scheduled flights due to fewer passengers booking economy seats for leisure trips. While economic uncertainty is one reason for the pullback, industry experts say anger over tariffs and concern about tourist detentions are discouraging foreign travelers. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
The FDA makes a new ruling on what food dyes can be used within the United States. Here's correspondent Ed Donahue with more.
The Food and Drug Administration says it will allow 3 new color additives made from natural sources to be used in the nation's food supply. The new additives are Galderia Extract Blue, a blue color derived from algae, calcium phosphate, a white color derived from a naturally occurring mineral, and Butterfly Pea Flower Extract, a blue color made from dried flower petals. They can be used in a wide range of foods. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has pledged a sweeping phase-out of artificial additives.
We're going to get rid of the dyes, and then one by one, we're going to get rid of every ingredient
an additive.
The FDA says it's going to revoke authorization for two little-used artificial dyes, citrus red number 2 and orange B, and accelerate the timeline to remove red 3, a food color banned in January because of a link to cancer in laboratory rats. Ed Donahue, Washington.
In today's Tech Report, correspondent Chuck Palm reveals the top 5 tech gifts you can buy to apologize for forgetting Mother's Day.
It's the day after Mother's Day. And are you in the doghouse because you forgot to get Mom the perfect tech gift? Here's the top 5 tech deals that you can get delivered in 2 days or less. Number 5, the Ember Temperature Control Smart Mug. 10-ounce app-controlled heated coffee mug with an 80-minute battery life to keep your favorite hot beverages hot. Number 4, the Skylight Calendar 15-inch digital wall planner. Plan your whole family's schedule at a glance. Number 3, the Anker MagGo 3-in-1 iPhone charger. Charges your Apple iPhone, AirPods, and Apple Watch. Number 2, the Strapsicle hand strap accessory for Kindle readers. Comes in multiple colors and is under $20. And number 1, the Frameo 10-inch digital photo frame. Wirelessly deliver any of your favorite photos to your mom instantly. And if you're a mom who didn't get what she wanted for Mother's Day, you can buy these for yourself too. Find me at chuckpalm.com.
With a look at sports this Monday morning, here's our John Stolness.
NBA playoffs, we start in the East, where the Indiana Pacers put up 80 points in the first half alone in Game 4 of their semifinal matchup against the favored Cleveland Cavaliers, a franchise record for points and a half. The final shot, a fall-away jumper from Aaron Naismith to cap a 19-2 run.
Naismith gets a clean ball, and he hits it. Why not? The Indiana Pacers put up an 80 spot on the Cavs in his first half.
TNT on the call as the Pacers had a 41-point halftime lead and coasted to a 129-109 win, giving them a 3-1 lead in the series and a chance to close it out in Game 5. In Game 4 of the Western semis, Oklahoma City grounded out a 92-87 win over the Nuggets in Denver to even that series at 2 games apiece. On the playoff ice, the Dallas Stars jumped out to a 2-1 series lead following a 5-2 win over Winnipeg in their Western Conference second-round matchup. And Sergei Bobrovsky stopped all 23 shots he faced in the Florida Panthers' 2-0 shutout of the Maple Leafs. That series is tied 2-2. On the diamond, it was the National League's best slugger and one of its top pitchers powering the Phillies to a 3-0 win over the Guardians in Cleveland on Sunday Night Baseball.
With a homer, and this one is to center and deep. Martinez at the wall. He's done it again. Kyle Schwarber.
Schwarber accounted for all 3 runs with 2 more homers, his 8th-inning 2-run shot called by ESPN, and his 14th on the year, backing up ace Zach Wheeler's 7 shutout innings. In other baseball news, the Colorado Rockies have fired manager Bud Black. It comes one day after his Rockies lost 21-0 to the Padres at home in Coors. That's a football score. Colorado is off to a Major League worst 7-33 start this season. And that's your look at sports.
Thanks, John. When we return on America in the Morning, milestones of the box office after these messages. You're with America in the Morning. The Thunderbolts repeated its win at the box office this weekend, while Sinners and Minecraft hit milestones. Just finishing up a box of buttered popcorn, here's entertainment correspondent Kevin Carr.
Marvel's dysfunctional superheroes, the Thunderbolts, or the New Avengers, came in a bit under expectations, but $33 million was more than enough to win its second weekend at the box office.
This team can be the heroes on the Wheaties box.
The 55% weekend-to-weekend drop isn't bad by Marvel's standards and shows the ragtag team might have some legs into the summer.
We're gonna kill every last one of you.
In second place was Ryan Coogler's vampire period piece Sinners with $21 million. This is a spectacular hold for the wholly original film, propelling its domestic cume past $200 million.
Who are you?
I'm Steve.
Third place belonged to a Minecraft movie with $7.9 million. This puts the highest grossing movie of the year past the $400 million mark.
Go over the plan again?
Plan?
In fourth place was The Accountant 2 with $6.1 million. It's not a terrible performance for an action film, but the movie is still going to struggle to make back its hefty $80 million budget.
Every year, there's this parade where everyone gathers around a Friendo float.
Friendo? It's the clown on all the Bay Pen corn syrup labels.
And hiding in fifth place was Clown in a Cornfield with $3.6 million. This surprise placement for a horror film makes a bold statement, putting it on par with last year's Late Night with the Devil. I'm Kevin Carr.
That's our show for today, Monday, May 12th, 2025. America in the Morning is produced by Alexander Hinton. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.